Do you think Arteta will rest some players, given the slender advantage you have over PSV in the Champions League?
Oh, I love it. I love it when I always miss talking to Max, the Tottenham fan. It's always joys. Yeah, this game, has there ever been a Manchester United Arsenal game that has felt like nothing for quite some time? I can't remember the last time there was a more. It feels irrelevant, but it's still relevant, of course. For us, it's important to make sure that we nail down that second spot, have to finish, strong as we possibly can after an exceptionally disappointing season. And with few players available, Max, I think you'll find that Mikel will play his best 11 against one of the poorest Manchester United teams that we've seen in years, but yet beat us and knocked us out of the FA Cup. So this is a must-win game for me, for Arsenal, because it'll be embarrassing if we lose to this United team again.
Oh, that's a burn, Sophie. You say the season's been exceptionally disappointing. If I can, right, you're not going to win the league, but you're going to lose it to a Liverpool side that I think has only lost one match. You've been unlucky with injuries, but those injuries have helped in the development of Ethan Nwaneri and Miles Lewis-Skelly. You're still in the Champions League and you just battered PSV Eindhoven 7-1 away. There are some positives, aren't there?
I'm not a crybaby fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I also am the type of fan that wants to win things, and it has been disappointing when you see where we've been in the last two seasons in the league. We're 16 points behind Liverpool, and that could change today, and we have the two games in hand currently. But that's regression in the league. And I understand that we've had major injuries. We've lost our front three players. If Liverpool had lost their core, would they be where they are? No. But I also believe that there have been times where we've put square pegs in round holes, whereas, we should have just kind of played with Mikel Arteta, kind of Thomas Partey at right back, when Odegaard was injured. Nwaneri, now we're seeing him. Should he have played him more at the start? It's just little things like that maybe would have helped steady the ship early on. And now we're discovering Nwaneri's totally ready. Miles Lewis-Skelly is an absolute baller. Those are the silver linings in the season. Without those injuries, we wouldn't have gone through this discovery process. But at the same time, the club have known those two players are special. I saw them on the tour as well. You could tell that the way they were being ingrained into the club, the way they were handling themselves, very smart young men, very disciplined, super talented on the pitch, and have that Saka personality, it seems, off the pitch as well. So, yes, preparedness is everything, but at the same time, we're in the position we're in because we haven't been so prepared when it has come to reinforcements in the transfer window.
So I sort of sense you're a bit annoyed with Arteta. It's not, we're presumably nowhere near he's not the guy, but you're just sort of a bit annoyed with him. Is that accurate?
I've always wanted to see how Mikel Arteta manages in adversity and how he handles adversity, because it's been pretty good. The last two seasons, we've been so competitive. We've been the only ones challenging Manchester City. But at the same time, football throws you curveballs. And it's not just Mikel Arteta's fault. Not signing anybody in January when you knew Saka was injured, on December 21st. Nwaneri coming into the team. The other thing that I don't like is that now we are asking two teenagers, a 17-year-old and an 18-year-old, to be the heroes of the season. And I think that's a little bit irresponsible of the club to be in this position again. We've seen this film before with Jack Wilshere. We've seen it with Emile Smith-Rowe. Saka totally cut from a different cloth and has put this team on his shoulders. We lose him. We can't be reliant on a 17 and an 18-year-old to carry us through for the rest of the season when senior players just haven't stepped up. Why haven't they stepped up? Yes, we've faced adversity and we've lost some of our best players, but you have to be able to manage through that. A lot of clubs have suffered a lot this season and last season from injuries. Teams are playing way too much football. I still believe in Mikel Arteta, 100%. But I also think there have been times this season where maybe he's mismanaged certain games.
He is still, I suppose, quite new at the job. But anyway,
come on. You can't be new at a job 5 years in. You can be.
We feel new. We're about 13 years into this show, Sophie, and we still feel, new, or at least, we're not perfect. We're almost perfect. We're not quite there.
Anyway,
if
Sophie,
I'm 5 years into my job, Barry, right? 5 years into my job, I'm not new at Sony Pictures. I'm not. I'm expected to get results.
Right.
I'm expected to perform at a certain level. And I think what we've been doing with the injuries, with the adversity, you can go to VAR, you can go to the refs. I think everyone's had issues with officiating this season. How many drop points? Maybe 5 or 6. It's still not enough. It hasn't been enough. We haven't played well this season. We just haven't. The 7-1 against PSV was, I think, one of Mikel's best weeks in football. The adversity, overcoming it. We didn't score against Forest, lost to West Ham. We come back and we show tenacity, we show passion. It's been lacking this season, those types of performances. We weren't playing well even when Saka was in the team and Havertz was in the team and Martinelli was in the team. We just haven't. We've not been the same team this season. And I'm sure some Arsenal fans will disagree with me, but that's just my perspective on it. I just don't think we've been great.
Yeah, I get the impression, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you're one of the Arsenal fans who thinks you should have signed a striker during the January window. I would argue that A, strikers are quite hard to come by, particularly in January, and B, I think not signing anyone is better than signing someone just for the sake of it, to keep fans happy, because if they're not the right fit, they could cause all sorts of problems further down the line.
I don't think Arsenal are the type of club that sign people to keep fans happy. And the evidence is clearly there.
I walked into that one.
Would Ollie Watkins have been a throwaway signing? You don't spend that kind of money on a player who has proven himself in the Premier League and could have started right away and had impact immediately. The problem with that was that, Arsenal felt that maybe he was worth 40 and Villa wanted 60. And in the end, was he really Arteta's first choice, or was it by default? And then the question is, if you spend this money in January, you're not going to have X in the summer. So then do you wait? Do you feel like, well, maybe we can get through what we need to and find ways to win in the Champions League in these kind of knockout games, versus, throwing away the war chest in January. So I do understand that, but they should have been prepared before that, right? In the summer, should anything have happened to Kai Havertz. But also there's maybe a slight level of arrogance, because last season we scored the most goals in our Premier League history, and Mikel likes to play a certain way. So maybe he felt he could roll the dice again. I'm going to get 15 goals out of Saka, Odegaard, Martinelli, Havertz, and that just hasn't worked this season, and it's backfired.
It makes me feel that actually Tottenham are doing all right when I'm hearing this sort of... I better not look at that. I better not look at the league tables. It's all relative, isn't it? Look, I'm all in. I've defended my club. The manager is still the guy for me. I think we've been doing phenomenally well, but I do believe we've made mistakes that have led to us being in this position this season. And I don't look at things through my rose-colored glasses. I'm not going to sit here and say it's all great. I believe that we could have prepared better. So maybe we could have kept the challenge up against Liverpool. Look at their front five. And I know we've had injuries and to major players. It is an absolute disaster. But if you really want a challenge for the Premier League, you have to be prepared for that. And I just don't think this season we were prepared enough for that. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think injuries do. I think actually they can define seasons. They're just not very interesting to talk about. Like quite often you hear ex-pros just saying, oh, you've got to find a way. And you go, well, you made a really good point. Like if Liverpool lose those number of players, and I can bring Tottenham into it, like I don't think they've been great. And even when their players came back on Thursday, they still weren't. But like, if you lose your whole spine, like it does, that can be season defining. It's just people want to talk about other stuff. I think. Well,
I think, Max, some managers keep talking about all the injuries they have, and Arteta is one of them. Eric Ten Hag was another. Ange Postecoglou is another. Whereas, like, Brighton have had an injury crisis this season. So have Bournemouth. So have Villa. But their managers just sort of get on with it and don't go on and on and on about how.
Yeah, also, our spine has still been there, right? You've had Saliba, Gabriel, David Raya. You've got the emergence of Lewis Skelly. Calafiori's been in and out, but you've got Timber. The midfield, you've got Partey, you've got Rice, you've got Odegaard. Trossard is still available. You know, Sterling has been a total bust. No disrespect to Sterling, but that has been a total disaster. And you've got the emergence of Waneri. So there's still a good team there to be playing and getting results. Of course, Saka is our best player. That player is so special, and you realise that. And any fan who's criticised Kai Havertz, I bet is missing him right about now. The most underappreciated, disrespected player in the Premier League, and maybe in years. What he does for this team is absolutely massive. And boy, are we missing him right now.
I will enjoy the game, Sophie. It is nothing.
Haven't had my tea yet.
Have you ever thought, Sophie, maybe football's not the game for you?
You know what? I've been on this show many times where it's been happy-go-lucky, and it just feels like, I'm excited for the Champions League and the unknown. But the Premier League, to me, overall this season, Bournemouth is a good story. Nottingham Forest is an amazing story. The promoted teams have been absolute garbage. There's no jeopardy at the bottom. Otherwise, it would have been fun, watching Tottenham and Manchester United kind of sweat a little bit.
Yeah, you're right.
And the race, and now where everyone's trying to sell a story where it's the race for second and third and fourth. It's been poor. I think the Premier League product this season has been generally poor, other than Liverpool. And I know a lot of people say Liverpool have been lucky. They've lost one game. We've drawn 8 games this season. Manchester City have lost 9 games. It's just not been very good. And sometimes you have to hand it to a team who've managed to navigate through everything, gotten lucky without injuries, and actually gone and won games even when they shouldn't have, and have some decisions gone their way. Yes, they've gone against us, and I hear all that now. But I just don't think it's been a particularly great Premier League season overall.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.